It's your girl Shay, and I'm finally back with another episode of Shay's Relationship Files. I know I've been gone for a few days. I know I was supposed to upload after last weekend, but it's been so much going on. I definitely wanted to give a life update before I get into the topic we're going to discuss this afternoon. So the reason for my absence is because I just recently found out my grandmother's passing away. So we've been dealing with that as a family and trying to grieve and see her as much as possible. They actually given her 2 weeks, so it's definitely been a rough time and having up and down emotions about everything and just trying to deal with the day to day while also processing everything at the same time. So it's been a lot with that. I know you guys can definitely understand if you lost someone close, especially a grandmother. It's definitely been a hard one. But I'm here, I'm back, and today I kind of wanted to talk about stepkids, and because I see many blended families a lot, and it makes me had a thought about, like, do you feel like it's a deal breaker if your girlfriend or your boyfriend don't get along with your kid that you had from a previous relationship? Like, is that a deal breaker for you? Is that something that's essential in order for you to move forward in a relationship? And not even just if you're in a relationship or married, but even if it's a friend or a family member. Like, do you feel like getting along with your kids is something everybody around you needs to do in order for them to for you to feel safe around them, or for them to feel safe around your kids? Is that important to you guys? But I wanted to give my thought on the topic. I personally feel like if a person already has a child outside of before they met their significant other, I do feel like the kid liking that person should matter. Even if the kid is younger. But I feel like their opinion should matter, and it's definitely right for their feelings to be validated when they feel like someone's coming in on their relationship with their father or their mom, or and it's definitely something of how the person that's around that person, mom or dad, how they're coming about with the kid. Like, do they include the child just as much as they include the child they may have with the mother or the father? Are they being kind to the kid, making sure, not, being overly kind, of course, because you don't want to be too, because I feel like it's a boundary when it comes to um, people who aren't necessarily the father of the child. They should still show respect for the parents, the actual parents of the child. But I do feel like they still should have an agreement amongst them and the parents of what is considered okay, what boundary can they stop at in regards to like discipline and things like that. Because I've even seen sometimes with blended families where they would say, oh, I don't want the stepdad being able to discipline my child, or the stepmom to be able to put punishment if they do something wrong. I'll just let me handle it. And it's like, I feel like, to me, I always thought that was kind of stupid, because then if, let's say, that kid most of the time lives with the mom, or vice versa, most of the time live with the dad, so that means they're around their stepmom or stepdad more so than as much as the other parent who may live in a different household. So it's like almost, to me, almost saying like, oh well, they can act a fool there, but then whatever problems they're doing, just tell me and I'll handle it when they get there. I mean, you supposed to always have an open communication to let each other know how the person's doing or if they need to work on some things and make them aware of. But I think it should still be a discussion made between the parents and the co-parents, because I've even seen where people would say, oh, well, it doesn't concern the stepfather or the stepmother. It just concerns the actual parents of the child. They the only ones supposed to communicate. But I feel like once that person is married to that person, they gonna be in their life forever. They should definitely be included in those discussions because they're gonna be caring for your kid just as much as you're gonna be caring for your child. So I feel like including the step dad or stepmother in the difficult conversations is definitely something you should do so that you guys can all have a common ground. So even if that child decides to act rebellious for a little while because they may not like the fact that their mom has moved on or their dad has moved on with someone else, it can be handled in a proper aspect because both parties are in agreement on how to handle it. But sometimes I know with some things it's not that easy because unfortunately some people are very immature and they don't know how to communicate in a way of having a at least platonic cordial relationship when it comes to another baby's mother type thing or baby father type thing. It's a lot of times always this constant arguing or you can't do this, you can't do that type thing. And the thing is, it's sad because that can get really exhausting to deal with every time you're dropping a child off or things are just having drama all the time constantly when you're trying to deal with someone you're no longer with but married and moved on to someone else. And I think I kind of talked about that a little bit in the old video I made in regards to step family and when you're having a blended family of people who are coming into, even if it's kids, and it's a hard transition because I actually know someone who's dealing with a similar situation where the person's child doesn't necessarily like them because they feel like they're taking them away from their parent, which I feel like it's a natural feeling for a child to have, especially when they don't understand why their parents may not be together or what the case may be. So it's definitely a hard thing, but I think it is possible to have a, a certain respect and cordialness when it comes to that situation. It's just that the people have to have a mature mindset and be willing to communicate with each other. Communication is definitely very important when it comes to raising other people kids, especially if you're married to someone who's already had kids prior to you. And sometimes I've even seen too where someone feels like, oh, since it's not my child by blood, that they're not my responsibility. That's his mom's responsibility. And that to me is just a really dumb notion because of the fact that once you have a child of your own with that person, that's their sibling. So if that's their sibling, then that's also your child too, even if they're not necessarily related to you by blood. So that's a dumb thing to say you're not responsible. That's just like if the kids, for example, was playing with each other and then he or she make a mistake and hit their head, you gonna say, oh, that's not my child, so I'll have his mom deal with them when she get home, or vice versa. Like that's just really stupidity, and it's just stupid, and it takes a lot of patience to deal with a situation like that. I mean, I personally haven't had to deal with that, but I've known people who have had have had situations where they had a blended family and on who should come first in the step family and all those things. And we actually have an article that I found interesting, and it gives 17 common things a step parent should never do. And I kind of want to talk about that today as well. So we'll get started on that. A step parent comes into to a child's life initially as someone desiring to grow into a caring adult figure for the child. Some attempt to push their way into a step parenting role that the kids aren't ready for, and others act more in a friend capacity. So with that, you want to find a balance because you don't want to be too pushy where you make the kid feel so uncomfortable like this person just doing everything I want, saying yes to everything I want, but then at the same time you don't want to be too friendly because then they won't gain the respect they supposed to have for you if you're trying to be more buddy buddy than an actual parent to them. I mean, it's really about finding a balance. You don't want to be too harsh, but you don't want to be too laid back either. And it mentions in the article the bond will likely need some time to develop and do so naturally and gradually. So that's where the patience comes in. You definitely have to be patient in a situation like this. And you have to allow the relationship to grow naturally, like they said, and gradually. And that could take months, it could take years, but you definitely want to give it the time it's needed. You can't expect to just walk in, be a part of the family, and they gonna love you. This is not like a Lifetime movie or a Hallmark movie where it just everything happens the right way in the right pieces. It definitely takes time. And it mentions how kids are intuitive and realizing when someone is inauthentic. So kids can easily read when someone is not being genuine. And that's another reason why I said a kid's opinion does matter on how they feel about the person that you're bringing into their life. Because if they really feeling a bad vibe about the person, if it's not, because I mean, if a kid just say they feel like they pulling you away from your dad, they could just simply be just going through the adjustment of accepting a new person around them and their dad or around them and their mom. But if it's something like you see your kid acting scared around a person or just all that like weird behavior, then that may be something you do want to pay attention to because sometimes a kid can see things before an adult can. And it is possible to establish a close connection with the stepchildren. You do need to understand that it won't be quite the same as the bond with the birth parents. So you may not necessarily be as close to your stepchild as your own would be, but you will be close enough where it will be a respect factor between you two and they would listen to the things you have to say. But I don't necessarily all the way agree that you can't because I've seen also plenty of people who've had stepchildren that have basically like their own and they look at their step parent as more of a father or a mother than their actual parent because some of these kids that may have had a step parent later have ended up becoming closer to them than their own because they may have not had the best relationship with their blood mother or blood father. So I've seen people who have actually took the father figure of someone else or the mother figure to someone else. And when you think about the word step parenting, the definition of step parenting is like being a parent and yet there is no sort of clear cut authority to discipline or directives to determine that authority for sure. Or for that matter, you don't have any rights. Despite the feelings you might develop for the child, it ultimately comes down to the fact that they don't technically belong to you. You need to be aware of the things a step parent should never do and be careful about step parenting issues. So the first thing they mention here that you should never do, never speak ill of the ex-spouse. Out of all the things a step parent should never do, you should never badmouth the biological parents. And you know what? This particular thing they mentioned is something I feel like you shouldn't do either if you aren't in a stepfather, stepmom situation. If you're even just on a day to day, I think as if you are a single parent or a single father, you shouldn't badmouth the other parent no matter how much the person may have done something to you or hurt you. There's no reason to badmouth them around their child. You just don't do that. And definitely, if you're coming into a family as a stepfather or stepmother, that definitely will not help you build any type of bond with a child. They hearing you say something negative about their other parent. That's not gonna do anything positive. It's just gonna make them pull away from you more. And the second thing they said you should never do as a step parent. Now, this one I don't all the way agree with, but this is what the article said. It said discipline is up to the parents. I don't agree with that. I'm not saying they necessarily have to allow a step parent to whoop their child, but they should be able to. Cause like I said earlier, I feel like it's stupid if there's no type of boundary of punishment that the step parent can do. Cause what if it's a time where the mother may have to go to work or have to do something where he's caring for that child for a few hours and that child does something he shouldn't? What is he supposed to do or she supposed to do? Just allow them to do it and wait till the mother come home and say, hey, that he did this or she did this. Like, that's really stupid to me, because also kids are very smart in that way, and they eventually notice, like, hey, oh, I can kind of do whatever I want when my stepdad or my stepmom is watching me, because they can't put their hands on me no way. And some kids would use that as a clutch, like they know they can't, so they take advantage of it. So I do think this rule of saying you should only leave it up to the actual parents to discipline, I feel like that's stupid, because it doesn't have to necessarily be physical discipline. It could be just a punishment, or take away something for a few hours if they're not behaving or didn't do a chore they supposed to do, whatever the case may be. But it should be something talks among the parents and the step parents to have, so when he or she doesn't behave a certain way, that he can instill some type of discipline. I don't feel like it should be completely not no nothing a step parent can't do when a child is acting up, even if they're not theirs. The third thing, don't act in the role of replacement. Learning how to be a good step parent involves respecting the ex spouse and not acting as a replacement. You want to approach step parents in the right way so everyone feels secure, in no way threatened by the change. That means maintaining a step parent's role as a mentor, support system, and caring person to talk to. So now that's important. You don't want to put on the role like, yeah, I'm trying to replace your father, or I'm trying to replace your mom. Like, you just want to be that additional support system. So I do agree with that. Um, the next trait they talked about is avoid playing favorites. Step parents who have kids of their own need to avoid playing favorites between the biological kids and their own. While you'll always feel a special connection towards your own kids, there is no reason to throw it in your stepchildren's faces. And I think that's also something for even when you're kids are your biological kids, you shouldn't play favoritism between the two either. Because I've definitely grew up where I was looked over a lot, and my sister was the favorite. And it's a lot of things I feel like they did or gave her that I unfortunately didn't get. And that's why, since I feel like that, I don't play favoritism even when our daughter is around. other kids, like my nieces and nephews or something. I treat all the kids as how I treat my own. No one gets special attention or special privilege or difference from. Everybody who kids are around me get the same treatment. The next one it mentions is don't create unrealistic expectations. When you married, that didn't automatically mean the children would gather around and be happy. That shouldn't be the anticipation. The feelings will come over time, but it could take a while. It's a matter of simply being patient and allowing them to develop. However, the expectation everyone should have is that the kids treat you with the same respect, and kindness as any friend coming into the family. As a parent, manners should be taught to your children from a very young age. And that's also important too, because there's so many kids today that I see that just got a mouth that won't wait with the stuff that come out their mouth. It is definitely important for us to instill manners into our kids, saying thank you, saying please, showing respect for your elders, showing respect for adult figures, period. It's definitely something we need to instill in our kids early. Another one they mention avoid overstepping boundaries. Boundaries should be respected no matter what. Among all the things a step parent should never do, this holds an important place. Respect the boundaries set by the biological parent regarding decisions and parenting responsibilities. Communication is key. Discuss important matters with your partner and find a balance that works for everyone. So that kind of mentions what I mentioned earlier about how it should be an open communication between the biological parents and the step parents, and you guys come to an agreement of things that will be okay on both sides, so everyone's aware of what each other is doing. And seven, don't keep score. To avoid step parent struggles on a daily basis, avoid keeping track of who does what for whom. A healthy family dynamic is not about tit for tat. Focus on contributing positively to the family rather than expecting recognition for every effort. And that's something I see a lot of shorts where people make jokes about, oh, I do all this stuff and I don't get the praise for it all the time. But sometimes it just feels good that you're doing it, especially when it's a genuine thing you're doing for your family. You shouldn't have to get praise for it every single time just to feel good about it, especially if it's coming from a genuine place. And the last thing they said here that I liked it said, what makes step parenting so hard? And it says step parenting is tricky because the person is coming into an already established family with a dynamic in place. There are rules, traditions, and routines that no one wants another person to come in and change all that the kids are used to. Many children are afraid that will happen. Often, some of that has to change to fit the new person in. There might be a move to a new home, likely different house rules, and a routine for possibly changing schools. Some traditions might stay the same, but some will need to change. To accommodate the step parent side of the family, it will be a whole new dynamic. That makes the step parent the least favorite person for a while. So that is my thoughts today on step parenting and blended families. I'm so happy you guys were able to join me today and listen in. I'm so glad to be back putting out my episodes. And I hopefully should be starting, I believe next week is when the Braxtons will start airing. So I will be doing my recap and reviews on those episodes starting next week. I believe it'll be next weekend because today is the 31st. So let me see. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So Friday will be the first episode for Braxton. So then most likely next Saturday will be, I mean not next Saturday, this Saturday coming up. No, yeah, it's next Saturday. Next Saturday will be my first review on the Braxton's return of their show. So definitely look out for that. And I hope you guys continue to stay safe out there, continue to have a good day at work or whatever you're doing today. And I will see you guys next video. Remember to like, share, subscribe. I thank everyone so much for who subscribed already and liked so many of my videos and contents. Please continue to help me grow this wonderful channel so I can continue to do what I love and enjoy, sharing these wonderful articles with you guys, encouraging articles with you guys, and continue to just share great content. So, thank you guys so much. Again, have a good day. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.